The acts of the Parliament of Canada and of the Legislature of Quebec shall be printed and published in both those languages. End note 67. Ontario and Quebec. Marginal note. Appointment of executive officers for Ontario and Quebec. 134. Until the Legislature of Ontario or of Quebec otherwise provides, the Lieutenant Governors of Ontario and Quebec may each appoint under the Great Seal of the province the following officers to hold office during pleasure, that is to say, the Attorney General, the Secretary and Registrar of the province, the Treasurer of the province, the Commissioner of Crown Lands, and the Commissioner of Agriculture and Public Works, and in the case of Quebec the Solicitor General, and may, by order of the Lieutenant Governor in Council, from time to time prescribe the duties of those officers, and of the several departments over which they shall preside, or to which they shall belong, and of the officers and clerks thereof, and may also appoint other and additional officers to hold office during pleasure, and may from time to time prescribe the duties of those officers, and of the several departments over which they shall preside, or to which they shall belong, and of the officers and clerks thereof. End note 68. Marginal note. Powers, duties, etc. of executive officers. 135. Until the Legislature of Ontario or Quebec otherwise provides, all rights, powers, duties, functions, responsibilities, or authorities, at the passing of this Act vested in or imposed on the Attorney General, Solicitor General, Secretary, and Registrar of the Province of Canada, Minister of Finance, Commissioner of Crown Lands, Commissioner of Public Works, and Minister of Agriculture and Receiver General, by any law, statute, or ordinance of Upper Canada, Lower Canada, or Canada, and not repugnant to this Act, shall be vested in or imposed on any officer, to be appointed by the Lieutenant Governor for the discharge of the same or any of them, and the Commissioner of Agriculture and Public Works shall perform the duties and functions of the office of Minister of Agriculture, at the passing of this Act imposed by the law of the Province of Canada, as well as those of the Commissioner of Public Works. End note 69. Marginal note. Great Seals. 136. Until altered by the Lieutenant Governor in Council, the Great Seals of Ontario and Quebec respectively shall be the same, or of the same design, as those used in the provinces of Upper Canada and Lower Canada respectively before their union, as the Province of Canada. Marginal note. Construction of Temporary Acts. 137. The words "and from thence to the end" of the next ensuing session of the Legislature, or words to the same effect, used in any temporary act of the Province of Canada not expired before the Union, shall be construed to extend and apply to the next session of the Parliament of Canada, if the subject matter of the Act is within the powers of the same as defined by this Act, or to the next sessions of the Legislatures of Ontario and Quebec respectively if the subject matter of the Act is within the powers of the same as defined by this Act. Marginal note. As to errors in names. 138. From and after the Union, the use of the words Upper Canada instead of Ontario, or Lower Canada instead of Quebec, in any deed, writ, process, pleading, document, matter, or thing shall not invalidate the same. Marginal note. As to issue of proclamations before Union, to commence after Union. 139. Any proclamation under the Great Seal of the Province of Canada issued before the Union, to take effect at a time which is subsequent to the Union, whether relating to that province, or to Upper Canada, or to Lower Canada, and the several matters and things therein proclaimed, shall be, and continue of, like force and effect, as if the Union had not been made. End note 70. Marginal note. As to issue of proclamations after Union. 140. Any proclamation which is authorized by any act of the Legislature of the Province of Canada to be issued under the Great Seal of the Province of Canada, whether relating to that province, or to Upper Canada, or to Lower Canada, and which is not issued before the Union, may be issued by the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, or of Quebec, as its subject matter requires, under the Great Seal thereof. And from and after the issue of such proclamation the same and the several matters and things therein proclaimed shall be, and continue of the like force and effect in Ontario or Quebec, as if the Union had not been made. End note 71. Marginal note. Penitentiary. 141. The penitentiary of the Province of Canada shall, until the Parliament of Canada otherwise provides, be, and continue the penitentiary of Ontario and of Quebec. End note 72. Marginal note. Arbitration respecting debts, etc. 142. The division and adjustment of the debts, credits, liabilities, properties, and assets of Upper Canada and Lower Canada shall be referred to the arbitrament of 3 arbitrators, 1 chosen by the Government of Ontario, 1 by the Government of Quebec, and 1 by the Government of Canada, and the selection of the arbitrators shall not be made until the Parliament of Canada and the legislatures of Ontario and Quebec have met, and the arbitrator chosen by the Government of Canada shall not be a resident, either in Ontario or in Quebec. And note 73, marginal note, division of records, 143. The Governor-General in Council may from time to time order that such and so many of the records, books, and documents of the Province of Canada, as he thinks fit, shall be appropriated and delivered either to Ontario or to Quebec, and the same shall thenceforth be the property of that province, and any copy thereof or extract therefrom, duly certified by the officer having charge of the original thereof, shall be admitted as evidence. And note 74, marginal note, Constitution of Townships in Quebec, 144. The Lieutenant Governor of Quebec may from time to time, by proclamation, under the Great Seal of the province, to take effect from a day to be appointed therein, constitute townships in those parts of the province of Quebec in which townships are not then already constituted, and fix the metes and bounds thereof. 10. Intercolonial Railway, 145. Repealed. And note 75, 11. Admission of other colonies, marginal note, power to admit Newfoundland, etc., into the Union, 146. It shall be lawful for the Queen, by and with the advice of Her Majesty's Most Honourable Privy Council, on addresses from the Houses of the Parliament of Canada and from the Houses of the respective legislatures of the colonies or provinces of Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, and British Columbia, to admit those colonies or provinces, or any of them, into the Union, and on address from the Houses of the Parliament of Canada, to admit Rupert's Land and the Northwestern Territory, or either of them, into the Union, on such terms and conditions in each case as are in the addresses expressed, and as the Queen thinks fit to approve, subject to the provisions of this Act, and the provisions of any order in council in that behalf shall have effect, as if they had been enacted by the Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. And note 76, marginal note, as to representation of Newfoundland and Prince Edward Island in Senate, 147. In case of the admission of Newfoundland and Prince Edward Island, or either of them, each shall be entitled to a representation in the Senate of Canada of 4 members, and, notwithstanding anything in this Act, in case of the admission of Newfoundland the normal number of senators shall be 76 and their maximum number shall be 82, but Prince Edward Island, when admitted, shall be deemed to be comprised in the third of the 3 divisions into which Canada is, in relation to the constitution of the Senate, divided by this Act, and accordingly, after the admission of Prince Edward Island, whether Newfoundland is admitted or not, the representation of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick in the Senate shall, as vacancies occur, be reduced from 12 to 10 members respectively, and the representation of each of those provinces shall not be increased at any time beyond 10, except under the provisions of this Act, for the appointment of 3 or 6 additional senators, under the direction of the Queen. And note 77, the first schedule. And note 78, electoral districts of Ontario. A. Existing electoral divisions, counties, 1. Prescott, 2. Glengarry, 3. Stormont, 4. Dundas, 5. Russell, 6. Carleton, 7. Prince Edward, 8. Halton, 9. Essex, Ridings of Counties, 10. North Riding of Lanark, 11. South Riding of Lanark, 12. North Riding of Leeds and North Riding of Grenville, 13. South Riding of Leeds, 14. South Riding of Grenville, 15. East Riding of Northumberland, 16. West Riding of Northumberland, excepting therefrom the township of South Monaghan, 17. East Riding of Durham, 18. West Riding of Durham, 19. North Riding of Ontario, 20. South Riding of Ontario, 21. East Riding of York, 22. West Riding of York, 23. North Riding of York, 24. North Riding of Wentworth, 25. South Riding of Wentworth, 26. East Riding of Elgin, 27. West Riding of Elgin, 28. North Riding of Waterloo, 29. South Riding of Waterloo, 30. North Riding of Brant, 31. South Riding of Brant, 32. North Riding of Oxford, 33. South Riding of Oxford, 34. East Riding of Middlesex, cities, parts of cities, and towns,